Hey y'all, um, how y'all doing? It's been a minute since I seen you all, and unfortunately, I'm back with another dream slash vision, divine visitation. And I was getting ready to go to bed, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna talk about this. It's crazy. It's freaking me out. The more I think about it, the more it makes sense to me. And I get ready to go to bed, and I always check my home feed, and I see this video, and I told my sister earlier today, if I get confirmation that this is one of the visions I should share, because I don't share everything, okay? I'm very particular about that. If the Most High doesn't unction me and push me to do so, so to speak, a tugging at my spirit, I don't talk about it. So I get confirmation tonight. You see I'm in my night clothes. I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I see this video on my home feed, and the video is talking about DARPA. If you haven't heard of DARPA, now I didn't research any of this. I put some things in the playlist so you all could go back and look at the playlist if you're not familiar with some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. But almost everything from my vision is already happening. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go into the vision. In the vision, it starts off, I'm in this house. And I knew it was a divine visitation because I could smell, feel, touch, and see. It's much more vivid than a regular dream. And we're sitting in this house, and there's 3 or 4 other people there. We lived in groups. And the reason why you live in groups is because there is a higher survival rate to live and operate in groups, so to speak. So, anyway, so we're sitting on the couch just talking and everything, and and within 15 minutes of this, they start realizing that I wasn't really in the loop, so to speak. And so they started asking me questions that I didn't want to answer. Just things like, how are you so out the loop? And how do you not know this? And how do you not know that? So within that happening, the doors are not allowed to be closed. In the future, laws and things are going to put in place because no one had storm doors. You're not allowed to have anything that will make it difficult for the police or whoever to get in your home. Okay, so it's like a law passed where you're not allowed to have anything on your doors and windows that make it difficult for them to enter. So there were no locks. Really simple locks, but locks could be easily broken on all the houses because I looked outside and there was a gate, and I also saw like trolleys or the trains, the trail trains or whatever, rails. Well, that was the main form of transportation. I didn't see not one single car. Okay, this is on the block where I was. Not saying cars not go exist, but trolleys, rails, things like that, trains, anything electric. It's like we're going back to the old days and how things worked then. Because, and I figured this out after I woke up, there was oil and gas was very limited. So this was their way of transportation. So anyway, I come back in, I sit back down after I looked outside and just, wanted to, and the trees and stuff were dead. There's a lot of chemtrails and smog in the air. So I come back in, I sit down, and a few minutes of talking with them, and some people just like out of nowhere, kind of like a SWAT team, came running the house. But I knew they weren't police because of how they were dressed. The girls had on, everybody had on boots. You had to have on something you could run in. Okay, no heels and none of that. Everybody was dressed to run or whatever at any moment, anytime. So they come in the house and they come in so fast, and I just assumed they was an enemy or something. I didn't know. And but the people in the house, was like, hey man, what's up? And so they come in, and I'm wondering why they come in like that. So they get to talking, and they get to saying that they heard that there was a suite going on not too far from there, and they were more like a gang. So the house I was in was more like a group or a boarding house. The people that came there were more like a gang, because they didn't follow the rules. They were like a part of a resistance or something, and they formed gangs to survive. So if you were good at stealing, you're designated to go and steal certain things that you need: batteries, food, things like that. If you were a stripper or a prostitute, then you go. It really wasn't money. It was more, everything was like trade. So they would go and service, a rich person or whatever, to get whatever they needed. And whether it was food, tools, or whatever. And there was one guy, he was the designated leader of the resistance or the gang, and his job was to make sure everybody survived and everything happens in order. And there was a guy who's he cooked all the food, like, that they brought back. Food was very limited. So I'm sitting and talking, and I'm just tripping off the stuff they telling me, and I'm noticing they all seem wired. I do have a little drug history, so I'm very familiar with drugs and prescriptions. So I asked, I'm like, what are you all taking? And they say to me, they show it to me, and it's this pill with this long name and numbers. If you saw a video I did a few years ago, I dreamed about a drug like that. It was a Valentine's Day futuristic dream, and I'm just talking about how they're gonna change Valentine's Day, and it's gonna be more about lust, porn, stuff like that, not anything related to love. Even though I know it's pagan, so y'all don't have to tell me the history of Valentine's Day. I'm familiar with that. But if you hadn't seen the video, go check it out, because in that video, they were taking this exact same drug. But in this vision, it was for a different reason. She told me that this drug wasn't a downer, but it still created a euphoric feeling where you could kind of escape the reality of the world that you were now living in. Okay? She also said that this drug allows your appetite to be suppressed, because there's very limited food within the group that she was in, period, in the world. And so they would take it to suppress their appetite also, so the little bit of food they do have would not get ate up. And she also said that the drug makes you more alert, so you're able to pay attention to what's going on around you, versus taking a downer like a Lortab or Xanax or something. And she said that the rich people, quote unquote the elites, they still took downers and things like that, because they didn't have to be constantly watching out and alert and what's going on around them. So they still took those, but the poor people didn't. There was no middle class. It was just poor, rich, low class, elite. In power, no power. And so, okay, we're sitting there talking. She's explaining that to me. It makes you sweat a lot. And when I woke up, I realized, I said, that's why so many people are addicted to Adderall and things like that. That's the reason so many people are getting prescribed this medication. This is like opening up the way for this to be a reality. So many people already, their body is going to be addicted to it. They're going to need it. And the easiest way to control people is to take away something that they need to function. So that came to me when I woke up and I began analyzing the dream. And, okay, so anyway, after all this happens, I noticed that the girls, it was one of the guys was like trying to holler at me, but all of the chicks, except for one or two, was trying to holler at me very, very aggressive, like way more aggressive than the dudes. And so, I'm sitting there for some reason. She asked me, was I homosexual? I was like, no, I'm heterosexual. And I was like, well, maybe you could say I'm a little bi. I got a history or something. Like, I knew it was really me because I had my consciousness. But anyway, so I was like, yeah, I got a little history in college and and I kissed a girl my freshman year and all this, So anyway, so they was laughing and stuff, but the chicks were like dead serious. Okay, like they were aggressive and were not letting up. Before I knew it, I turned around. Keep in mind, they were high and they were drinking. The alcohol they were drinking was something totally different. It didn't just make you drunk and unaware. The alcohol was even different. It was more like an energy type thing, but you still felt the drunkenness. And so anyway, they were drinking and stuff. As you can imagine, it's a party type environment. And so I turned back around, and the chick like then pulled her pants down. And if you got kids, please get them out. If you're not 18, don't watch this. Just click off of it from this point. I'm gonna give you a few seconds. Okay, you should be out or clicked off. So she begins masturbating, but it wasn't a vibrator or dildo. It was a back scratcher, like a wooden back scratcher. Stuff was so limited. Like when I say they were poor, they were really just making do with basic animalistic human desires, and they were fulfilling them in the most limited ways. And of course I'm tripping, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she doing this in front of us. So so the other people in the room just act like it was normal. They were still laughing and talking like they didn't even see it. I'm feeling really uncomfortable because I'm noticing she looking at me and leaning her head over on me, and I'm just like, whoa. So I get up and I move. And because one of the chicks got jealous and was just like, oh, that's messed up. You go let her sit beside you or whatever and get off and not me. And, and I realized when I woke up, I said, this is intentional. This is to control how many babies are being born in the population. I mean, the more people that are homosexual, the more the population can be controlled. So this is intentional also. I don't know exactly how it's being done, but it's intentional, okay? And most of these people weren't homosexual for no reason. That was the reason. It's intentional. Okay, so back to the story. Within all of this happening, they're showing me some of their gadgets. The phones that we had in the group home were very basic. The phones they had were completely different. We didn't have Androids or smartphones. The phones they had were just even 10 years from what we have now. And I'm just saying 10 years. Technology has moved much faster in the last 50 years. So 2 years from what we have now. And within a few minutes of that, a bot, the door, because remember the door isn't locked. A bot kicks in the door, crawls in. It had like maybe 6 or 8 legs, and it took a scan of everybody in the room, shot a hologram up. Within 5 seconds of this happening, they already had an escape plan, and they had certain places in the house that they would hide behind panels and on the floors and things like that. So they go off and they're hiding. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was a toy, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. Look at that. But anyway, just so dumb. And I hate when I have these because I don't fit in at all. But so I'm thinking it's a toy, and I'm just kind of intrigued by it. And they're hiding and running. I mean, they had a plan. It wasn't like they was bumping into each other. This was like a system, and this is what we do whenever there's a sweep. That's what it was called, a sweep. So within that happening, within 3 seconds, that thing knew everybody in that house and gave a, I saw like frequency waves, and it gave a reading, and it could communicate back to the main base, and it gave like a bio reading or a bio print, a carbon print, whatever you want to call it. And I know every human has a different electromagnetic frequency. And it was like they had a database for that. So you could go get plastic surgery and all that stuff, and they would still know who you were because of the print that you left, electromagnetically speaking. That's why you can feel somebody when they walk up behind you and don't have to be looking at them. It's because of the energy field we give off. So anyway, so they come in within a few seconds, the police, and I'm saying police, but their shield look more like international, almost like every country together. And so they come in, they do a sweep, they're asking questions and everything. Within this happening, the people in the group home told me to stay in my role, to get in my role. If your role was being the man of the house, then that guy, he was fixing something in the house. If your role was cooking, then you go in the kitchen and pretend you're cooking. It was just to look as unsuspicious as possible. So my role was cleaning up, really. So I was mopping. I hate that. But anyway, yeah, so that was my role. So I was mopping. I grabbed a mop or something. And they left. They couldn't find anybody. They left. So when they left, the people, the gang or whatever, the resistance gang that came out, and they were just like, man, that was close. So he pulled out this gadget, and this gadget could communicate to him where they were. He could watch them like a GPS tracker, but it's much different than what we have now. Everything was hologram. Everything was artificial intelligence and organic. It was Android, but organic Android. That's my best way of describing it. So within this happening, I get one of the things. Actually, they left one. Daylight is getting ready to come. The police come back. They never really did leave. They were riding on the rails through the neighborhoods, hanging with their guns, hanging halfway out of the rail, patrolling the neighborhood. So they snuck out, and one of the guys got shot, and the thing he got shot with, it shoots you and it paralyzes you, and you could be 50 feet away. That thing was so accurate, and I don't know if what happened with that guy. So anyway, right before daylight breaks, after they had been gone a while, two of the girls come back, and within this happening, I was just so glad to see them, because I'm just like, you know, wow, y'all okay, that's good. And they were telling me, yeah, well, one of our guys didn't make it. I can't remember what his role was within the gang. But one of the gadgets got left behind. I'm not sure if the police left it or they left it. Now, the stuff the police had was far more ahead technologically than what the gang had. But their stuff was way ahead of us. So technology is creating factions and zones, mostly based on your social economic status, how much money you make. But I'm noticing this, and it's just like back in the 90s, we didn't have computers, but I knew people that did who were making more money than my family was, and I was behind in schoolwork just because I didn't have a computer, and I would have to go to the library and look through encyclopedias. And so if you can get what I'm saying, so technology is going to continue to separate us in zones and factions more and more. So anyway, I pick up this gadget and I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm playing with it and I realized the buttons could predict what I was going to do next. I don't know if it was through my bioprint. It was reading through a satellite and predicting, and it was almost telepathic. And before I would push a button, the button would let me know that the next button, it knew what word I would spell before I spell it. Kind of like how Google does. Within the last few years, all of a sudden, Google started predicting what question I was going to ask and things like that. Kind of like that. But just much faster and much more accurate. And I couldn't trick it. I would try to think something else before I push it, and it still knew what I was really going to push. So it was picking up my brain signals or something, but it was organic. It was Android and organic, because it began forming itself to my hand. The more I touched it and played with it, the more it formed itself to my hand until it was completely wrapped around my hand, where I could use it like a phone, but now I don't have to hold it. It's wrapped to my hand. I'm assuming that's created. I mean, when you out in a field or something and in battle, that would come in handy to not have to hold things. So anyway, this wraps around my hand, and I'm freaking out because I'm just like, okay, this is artificial and it shouldn't be doing this. And it was becoming cohesive with my skin and with me. I feel like if I didn't pull it off and put it down, it would have integrated itself with me somehow, and I couldn't have got it off. I don't know if that was the case, but that's how I felt. And so okay, but this gadget, before I put it down, I could open up a hologram, and this hologram would show me real time of what was going on outside of the zone. We were in zones. They kept us in zones, kind of like the movie Time. You had to live in your zone. And so I didn't know what was going on outside of our zone. With this, I could see it. And I saw rich people underground, because the walls were steel and concrete and forest. They were underground. They were celebrating. They were drinking wine from 1997, I think the year was, or 96. They were celebrating. They were happy. They were popping their pills and had their music going. We didn't have any music, any TVs. There was no entertainment. We went back to storytelling and things like that. But they had all that stuff. So, excuse me. So, anyway, so I'm looking and I'm clicking and like changing the channels and looking at all the different people in the world outside the zone we're in and what they're doing. And I come across, please don't think I'm racist, but I come across some Mexicans, and they were really good at building. they had became the upper echelon, so to speak, of the world because they had trades that were of value. Everything was about trade, whether you're trading a product or trading a service. Everything was about value. There was really no money, no dollars, none of that. It was value. What of value do you have to offer us, and what do you need back in return? So Mexicans became the upper echelon because they had these traits of being really great builders. So they were well off, okay? And a lot of black people and white people were really struggling. But a lot of them were very well off because they were good builders. And so I saw them building, but they were really happy. Looked nothing like, and their zone looked different. Certain zones look better than others. Just like you ride through a poor neighborhood and it looks run down, and you ride through a neighborhood 5 minutes from there and it's completely different. It looks just beautiful. Just like that, except worse and more extreme. So within this happening, I get back to the house and I noticed dogs outside, and these dogs were like robotic dogs. They weren't human, not humans, but they weren't mammals. They were robotic. And these dogs worked with the police officers. They were much faster than real dogs. And it was also to remove the opportunity of error. This is why they switched over to android robots, to remove human error or animal error. Almost like if I was a really good person, dogs can feel this. I could almost coax the dog into not telling that I was hiding where I was hiding. They fixed it where you couldn't do that. Okay, so now you got a robotic dog, and this dog could care less if you're a good person or not the person looking for you. You can't dog whisper this dog. You can't coax this dog into not catching you. And these dogs were really, really fast. Let's see, what else? Okay, so I'm trying to get through it. And so, okay, after that, I go back in the house, and I'm talking to the two chicks that came back from the gang, and they were telling me what happened. And I was like, where do you all live? And it's like, we move around. We constantly move. That's how we stay ahead. We have to stay 2 steps ahead of them. And we were just there talking, and they were just telling me some stuff. So I wake up, and I realize the reason that they were so sex deprived, so to speak, we became almost like an asexual society, and sex was like a rare thing. It was like a blessing if you got it, because diseases were so bad, and they were trying to control the population. So they would have sex telepathically, or take a drug that would simulate sex and orgasms. And that's what this drug would do, so people didn't have to actually have sex. So condoms weren't even really necessary. I mean, they went a whole nother level from condoms, okay, to protect us. But it was population control also, not just protecting us from diseases. And that's also why so many people were homosexual too. It just created so many other problems. So you would have telepathic sex, you would have a drug to create a synthetic feeling of sex, and orgasms. And like I said, the CDC passed laws where you were not allowed to have sex unless you followed these precautions and these ways that they said was the right way of doing it. They even assigned certain stuff per household for you to make sure it happened this way. Let's see. Porn was like a rarity. It was like gold if you had it. I don't know if it had all been taken or what, but everybody didn't have it. And I assume that would make you want to screw the person you in a group house with. I don't know. But that was another thing I noticed. And you didn't have any TVs anyway to watch it on, unless you just really had money or were part of the upper echelon of the elite. Okay. Also, when I woke up, I realized that everything that was android-like was also organic now. It was bio. So it was like a merge. There was no separation between human, bio, mammal, or artificial intelligence, organic. Even the gadget I was touching, it felt like skin. So it was almost like our skin had been cloned and put on artificial gadgets to react like skin, and all that. But anyway, so this is really crazy. So check out my playlist. I'm researching everything I saw, and I'm putting it in my playlist under the name New World Order. You can check it out, and you can get more of a picture of what I'm talking about, and you can actually see the image and videos of it. The scary part is I did not expect to find that much validity of what I saw. So for those of you who think I'm crazy and I'm just a kook and you know, I make this stuff up, I don't. So I will find other things from the dream to prove the things that I'm telling you now, and put them in the playlist as I go. But I wanted to upload this first before I did anything else, so people couldn't say, oh, well, you found a video and this is the reason why you said that. No, I didn't. This, like, I couldn't sleep today, so I don't, why would somebody want to share this anyway? You know, but I'm just doing this because I know the Most High obviously gave me this gift for a reason, and I'm using it to be a blessing. So, man, if you're not saved, get saved. Accept Jesus Christ as your Savior. For those who don't believe, I didn't believe once upon a time either. He definitely made a believer out of me. And it's just a really good feeling to know when I leave here, this isn't it. And it's something much better waiting. And I would just say, what would you lose if you believed? What would you miss out on if you became a believer? Not if you tried to change your whole life and operate the way religious people have said you should live. What would you lose if you simply became a believer in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost? Just ask yourself that question. And for those of you that don't believe and don't want to, that's a simple question that he asked me. What would you lose? It's nothing but gain. Alright, so check out my playlist. Thank you. Subscribe, please. I don't care if you share this video. I'm not even sharing it with my friends. I really don't even care to talk about this stuff. But I'm just being obedient. Trying anyway. So, alright. Peace out. Bye-bye.